Welcome to Nerd Jam!
Nerd Jam, jamming it up, Nerd Jam. Yeah, we're gonna get a better theme song, don't worry. So we're here with our second jam session here.
First one was an amazing success. 20 downloads. Take that, other famous podcast we're rivaling with.
Currently have 3 followers, so we're off to a great start. And for those of you that didn't hear the first episode, which apparently is 99.999% of the population, I am Matt Blissenbach.
And I am Jim.
And we are here to talk about nerdy things and nerd pop culture and nerd everything in between.
Matt, what's crammed in our jam today?
Today, we're going to talk about the new movie, hit smash, runaway success, Doctor Strange. We're also...
Well, I thought it's not Doctor Strangelove?
It's Dr. Weird.
I watched Doctor Strangelove last night. Why did I do that?
It's a good movie, Dr. Strangelove.
But that's not what we're reviewing. We're reviewing Doctor Strange.
We could talk about that on a future episode. And
what else, Matt?
We're going to talk about Gotham, and we're going to talk about the likes and dislikes, and why do we keep watching it. And then we're going to talk about great nerds in history. So stay tuned to hear the reveal of who our first great nerd in history is.
All right, we'll start off with the Doctor Strange review. We both actually went together to see it.
Yep, it was a good time. I liked the movie. I was going to say a lot. I don't know if that might be stretching it. I liked the movie.
You're bending reality with that review, Matt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We should maybe do this review in the mirror dimension so that it doesn't affect...
implicate anything?
Doesn't affect reality. Also, if we should say... right off the bat, spoilers. If you don't like spoilers, there's going to be a lot of them. So I'm not going to say don't listen because I still want you to listen, but just be aware there's going to be spoilers. So,
well, we're still going to give a good opinion, and we're going to teach you some things about Doctor Strange you know about. Well, at least Matt will. I'm not as big of a comic fan as I have no Doctor Strange. My knowledge of Doctor Strange, he's always the deus ex machina in the comics. Like, if the characters are being effed really badly, the heroes are going, oh no! Doctor Strange is like, well, I'll fix this. Ziggity zabobo. And with his ziggity zabobos, it's fixed.
Right. But that's not always necessarily the case. For those of you more familiar with the character, one good example would be World War Hulk, where Doctor Strange tried to beef himself up to take on the Hulk, and the Hulk mashed him a good one is the technical term.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, yeah, Doctor Strange, and we should also point out that some people fell asleep during this movie.
Who are those people?
Jim fell asleep during what he refers to as the training montage.
Yeah, it was only a few minutes I fell asleep, I promise.
But it was much more than a montage. But we also...
when you asleep, it feels like just seconds, so it was a montage to me.
One of our longtime fans, one of the 3 people that has followed us, also admitted to falling asleep during Doctor Strange. So take that for what it's worth.
I mean, it's boring.
Yeah, it's a little slow. It starts off a little slow. So what do we want to talk? What do we like about Doctor Strange?
By far, one of my favorite aspects is just the visuals. The visuals were just awesome. In the trailers, you've seen a very, very Inception-like.
Yeah.
Just the way everything...
Inception-y,
yeah. The way everything bends like some twisted puzzle.
Sorry, I couldn't.
I know you're doing an Inception noise,
yeah,
but that sounded more like a semi was just driving by.
It also kind of sounded like War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, the noise the tripods make. But anyway, I think it's all the same noise. But yeah,
they need to be in every trailer so you could feel epic everything is.
Yeah, the visuals were awesome. I liked the magical effects. I liked how when they made their little portals, it kind of looked like sparklers, like cheap fireworks sparks were flying. Mm-hmm. And then I liked they had like the cat's cradle and the different geometrical shapes and looked very magical, and then there was the reality warping and the mirror dimension.
Well, for me, a lot of these visuals, I'll give this movie credit. A lot of these visuals I've not seen be utilized. I don't want to say at all, but like, yeah, this is the first time I've seen such great visuals be utilized. Like, this is something very, very great to this movie's credit.
I think it did a very good job of representing magic and magical powers and abilities. When you think of magic, probably the first thing that comes to a lot of people's mind is Harry Potter. And one thing that I don't like about Harry Potter is when they fight, it's like, pew! pew, laser out of my wand, or it's, ooh, I knocked the wand out of your hand. Ooh, I knocked the wand out of your hand, too.
The action's very boring.
Yeah.
When you come to magic, like, the visuals should be limitless.
Yeah.
Electric shock. Oh, yeah? Well, electric shock. You know what? I got something for you, Matt. You know what that is?
Electric shock.
Electric shock!
I'm gonna knock the wand out of your hand.
With what, Matt?
With my wand.
No, with an electric shock, of course. And they had some electricity in this, but they reached the different realms of magic that let you know how far this universe can go.
It was like, you want to see magic? Now sit back. We're gonna magic your pants off. Wait a minute. No, that doesn't sound good. That's what I like. That's what I like to do on Saturday nights. No, but anyway, we really liked the visuals. I liked the casting, and I believe Jim would agree. Well, the casting of Doctor Strange. Casting of Doctor Strange,
perfect. He's the best thing of this movie.
Marvel does a great job of casting their main characters. At least.
The side characters they fell into the stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like, for me, they did. Ancient One, if you ask anyone who she is, they're like, was it the bald lady, right? You're not gonna, I don't know. For me, you're not gonna remember her name.
Yeah, but at least they didn't go the stereotypical route of making it an old, bearded Asian man.
Isn't that who he is, though?
That's who he is in the comics.
Why is that a bad thing?
Well, I
would have loved it if they had an old Asian man, little Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah.
Wouldn't Mr. Miyagi be great as an Ancient One?
Mr. Miyagi would be. I wonder how old is
Deny me that Mr. Miyagi.
Is Pat Morita still alive? He probably is pretty ancient if he is.
I don't think he is, but I don't want to confirm that yet.
We can neither confirm.
We don't have Twitter to confirm
nor deny.
We don't have Twitter to confirm his death.
Yeah, but he would be epically ancient. But yeah, that's a good point. But I kind of like the bald lady. I thought she was kind of...
No, she was good, but she wasn't amazing. Like I felt the serious toll she brought, but I really... someone else could have did a role, I think, just as well. I'm not saying she's bad, but I think with Benedict Cumberbatch, I don't know if he's such a great actor. He went over all these guys. If the characters were written so flat, they just kind of didn't have the opportunity to jump up and compare to him.
What about Mads Mikkelsen? Mags, what's his name? Mads?
Macklemore Mikkelsen.
Mad Max Macklemore.
I'm a big fan of his. I don't know. He did a great job, but his character didn't have any depth in the movie. So it's like he's one of those people who could have gave a stellar performance, but maybe the way his character was written was held back, because one scene where Doctor Strange was like, "Bam, you're chained up." Mm-hmm. The chained up scene,
chain grabber trap.
What did I want to say something? I want to bring up something perverted that it reminded me of. What's the whole sex thing these days? Where
bondage?
Yes, it made me think of very bondage. I'm sorry my brain went there, but it did. It was like, why is that trap there? What is that? The whole purpose? The
magical bondage device.
Well, the way it had him contorted, I couldn't think of anything else. But I've watched too many.
What was his character's name? Calculus?
See, that's what I mean.
I kept calling him after we saw the movie. I kept calling him.
It's like Callisto.
No, it's
not Callisto.
I'm looking at on the internet right now, and it's Caesius. Kaeci.
See, that's what I mean. All these characters, they have these weird names, and you don't remember their names. You remember their stereotypes.
They were all pretty flat.
They're all British white guy, bald lady.
Tilda Swinton is the one that we refer to as bald woman, and I like her. She was also in Constantine. I was almost going to call it Hellblazer, but she was the angel.
She was great in Constantine.
Yeah,
like, she was my favorite part, and just okay, I should avoid going to that movie, but she was one of my favorite things. And I don't want to attack her, but it's like I don't see why she couldn't have but I think an ancient older person would have gave some character to it too.
I like the fact that the character Wong was played by Benedict Wong. Is
that really the actor's name?
Yeah, it is. And
I did not know that.
Wong is actually an established Marvel character that's been around for years, but it's kind of funny that they found an actor named Benedict Wong to play Wong. Rachel McAdams, I hate. Probably irritate a lot of people, but I just don't like her.
The thing I thought was funny is like, Amy Adams could have played this character, and I didn't know this is Rachel McAdams. I've probably seen her in another movie, but I was like, I don't know. I think that's a little ironic. I was like, Amy Adams. No, her name's Rachel McAdams.
I guess we crossed over into from what we like to what we dislike.
I guess we should keep on.
Let's finish up what we like.
I want to go back to Max Macklemore.
Mm-hmm.
Max Mikkelsen. I'm a big fan of his because I watched Hannibal. I'm a fanable of Hannibal. That's
Hey Willie.
I know
Sorry.
that's not.
Had a-
I gotta
had an elf
get this
moment
out.
there.
This isn't an original joke for me.
Yeah.
That's what the fans of Hannibal call themselves.
Okay.
But he's stellar in that show, and that show was trippy as heck, which made me excited about this movie. We got Hannibal versus Sherlock Holmes. That's face-off, but what makes that a great face-off is the character's depth, and we only get one scene with Calculus, Caligula, and he kind of makes it seem like having, what is the implications he gives to Doctor Strange? What does he give about his motivations?
That they're gonna do away with death, that they're gonna enter a period where time and death are no more and everything's going to live together and it's going to be one big happy eternity with Dormammu.
Well,
Dormammu.
Oh my gosh, let's not hit him yet, but, but for me, he was actually kind of convincing me. I was just like, yeah, you're right, time kind of sucks.
Time sucks.
I was also thinking of the small implications of that, but like it was actually a very cool concept that he was bringing forth. I was like, yeah, time's the worst. He's a murderer, but at the same time he could be a little bit. I don't have time, but I was also trying to think about. I was like, oh, if we lose time, can there not be any babies born or stuff like that? And I don't know. They didn't get into depth. They haven't did debate about that, but I don't know. He was actually, but my point is, he was convincing me that what he was doing is right, and then after that. You don't learn anything else about him or why he connected it to the dark dimension. Dormammu. Matt, what did you think of the villain of the movie?
He was cool. I liked the little, I don't know, what was it? What would you call it? Like burnt eyes. I thought that was neat. Kind of like they've seen things they weren't meant to see. Mm-hmm. And they're little cultists. I thought it was weird, and this again might cross into the dislike, but at the beginning of the movie he had his little behind the back double knife blade strike, and then he made to do it the exact same move like less than 5 minutes later, and it kind of looked like that was going to be like his trademark signature attack. And then he never did it again ever. So he did it twice in the span of like 3 minutes and then never again. And I was like, what was the point of that?
I just like how that a person whose main power is magic and that there's limitless possibilities, his main attack is shanking.
Yeah, that's true.
His main attack is limited to a prison shanking.
Yeah.
Because he just went around, I want to shank you. It's like, what is this?
But it was a magical shank.
It was a magical shank, so that makes it more magically. Okay, anything else you liked?
I liked that there was a lot of Easter eggs of the Marvel Universe. Mordo claims he has the staff of the Living Tribunal, and for longtime Marvel fans, you'll know the Living Tribunal is a cosmic entity. It's a giant golden being with like a purple curtain over his head, and he's like one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe. So just hearing even that name is cool.
I didn't know that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yep.
Well, another Easter egg, I think probably a more obvious one, was when Doctor Strange was driving like a lunatic on the highway on a rainy day for some reason, and they were saying, what are some cases you can do? Well, there's this guy in this metal mechanic suit who's paralyzed.
Yeah.
Reference to Civil War. War Machine. What's his AKA? What's his AKA? Patriot.
Iron Patriot.
Iron Patriot. Yeah. So that's another Easter egg.
Yeah. And then
were there any other ones I might have missed, Matt?
Well, I don't know if it's an Easter egg because it was pretty obvious, but there was the Avengers Tower in the skyline.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an Easter egg if someone throws it and hits you in the head with it.
Mm-hmm.
Here's an Easter egg. Oh, gee whiz.
Well, I'll just put this in my jam.
His jumpy boots, I think, have been mentioned in the comics before. The velour boots.
Oh yeah, Mordor had those when they were fighting.
He jumped around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Eye of Agamotto and the Cloak of Levitation are all things from the comic books.
But those aren't really Easter eggs.
No, that's true.
Those are. I only count those as Easter eggs, but because they're part of the main plot of the movie.
Right, that's true. I don't know. So there was a Easter egg.
You keep your eggs in your basket, Matt.
Yeah, there was an Easter egg that I liked.
No, and there are probably more you might have missed, but those are the ones that stuck out.
As soon as we get done recording, I'll think of like 30 of them, and I'll be like, dang it! I like Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, that's the one thing these Marvel's movies hate is that the movies themselves might not be brilliant, but they kill it with these characters. And that's what the whole purpose of it. It's called Doctor Strange because it's time for you to learn who Doctor Strange is, and you do, and you love the character.
Yeah.
The movie, you could just be like, well, let's just clean up this movie, and then you can make a little quick profile video of who Doctor Strange is.
Right. Another quick I like that he was insistent that he was Doctor Strange. He wasn't Mr. Strange, he wasn't Master Strange, he was Doctor Strange. I thought that was kind of cool.
Why did the Ancient One, he's like, I'm Doctor Strange, and she's like, well, you don't practice anymore. It's like, he still has his doctor's degree.
Yeah, exactly.
Why does he,
yeah.
That, as someone with a degree, that made me upset that she was like, you don't practice anymore, so you lose your degree. It's like, that's not how it works. You know how hard it is to get a doctor's degree? And then I push up my glasses.
Even if you have a doctorate in anthropology where you're not practicing medicine, you're still a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Just because he's not practicing medicine doesn't make him not a doctor anymore.
He's still called former president's president.
Take that, Ancient One.
Yeah, what a mean lady. But I got her point in that scene. It's like, don't take away his doctorate degree.
It was all part of her ancient wisdom to have him get over his ego and his self. She was trying to tear him down so she could build him back up military style. Yeah,
but it was a nice little quip of him on going, oh, look at that, he really wants everyone to know he's a doctor. And they even, of course, they had to do the pun. Everyone was looking for the Strange pun.
Yeah.
Where Mads Mikkelsen, when they first introduced each other.
Yeah.
Well, how the back and forth
he
go?
Said something along the lines of, I don't believe I've met you, Mr. And he goes, it's Doctor. And he goes, okay, Mr. Doctor. And then he goes, no, it's Strange. And he goes, yes, a little. that was a good joke.
Well, you knew a joke had to happen like that, and so they had to do it. But that was a good way to go about that joke. To the dislikes, the dislikes, I'll hit it again. Just that the characters were flat. Besides Doctor Strange, of course, a lot of them just fell upon the stereotypes for me. Who is his best buddy? Oh, he's this
Mordo.
Mordor. Yeah, Mordo. I barely remembered him. I don't know. He's his best buddy, and then who's the guy? He's the librarian, and it's like you don't know any characters besides that.
I agree with that. And then who's the love interest? It's
it's Christine. It's Christine, because he had to yell her name a million times he.
But is she a love interest? Is she not? They kind of established early on that they didn't have feelings for each other, but then they sort of did, but it wasn't established enough to make it worth caring about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I need medical help. I'll go to her. Okay, I'm done now. Bye.
The thing I always like to look when saying if there's a good character or not, of course it's called Doctor Strange, but when you have movies, like, you want to have interesting characters besides your main one. And the implication I always look at is if you take Doctor Strange out of the equation, would you care about this character?
Mm-hmm.
And the only one I would say I would even be interested in caring about is the Ancient One.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else would be like, no, I don't know who that is. No, I don't know who that is. Like, they're all just flat.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree or disagree with that,
I
Matt?
agree with that.
Okay.
Even Megs, Macklemore, Cagliostro, the Cosa Nostra, whatever his name.
Yeah.
He was a good actor. He was entertaining to watch. Okay, he wants to make life not have time anymore. What? I don't know. Even he was kind of flat.
He was a stooge, and it's like you kind of wish you had more for that guy, because he could be a returning villain,
mm-hmm.
but you don't care if he's a returning villain anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we skipped upon this guy, but let's talk about the main, not the Max Mikkelsen, but the Dormammu. I liked the idea of him, and my thoughts quickly went to guy in Green Lantern, Necron in Green Lantern. That's as soon as I seen that guy, I was like, that guy's just like Necron.
Yeah.
And because Hal Jordan faces that guy off a few times, and so this time, Doctor Strange is facing off Dormammu. And I liked that face off a lot. That was really cool face off.
Speaking of face. Apparently, uncredited, fun trivia fact for you, Dormammu's face was actually Benedict Cumberbatch's face, because the reasoning was that...
My jaws dropped.
Yeah, the reasoning was that because he lives in a dimension outside of time and space, he would have no purpose for a physical form, so when he encounters Doctor Strange, he's like, I'm going to make myself look like him so I can interact with him. So they actually used Benedict for the face of the motion capture.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
The only reason I kind of question that a little bit is because when the Ancient One is explaining everything, reality, going through magic and everything, you see Dormammu's eyes.
That's
and
true.
Stuff. So is that... I guess she's showing Benedict Cumberbatch what he looks like, but is that Ancient One showing him, or is that him seeing himself?
I'm just telling you what they did. I'm not saying that.
No, I'm not attacking you. But that's your objective reasoning. That's the facts you find. I'm not. No, this isn't an attack. It's just I was just like questioning. I'm just questioning
the logic of it.
I'm not questioning
my reporting of sketchy facts that I learned from the internet that may or may not be true.
No, that's a neat FYI. I like that a lot. No, I feel bad.
No, it's okay. Let's move on. So what did we think was weird about the Doctor Strange?
Everything.
What was strange about Strange?
Everything was strange. When she first taps his head,
Yeah,
he goes
that's
blowing
awesome.
through reality, and we even get like a mini zombie scene where all of a sudden all these hands grab him.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's great that Marvel is doing that in a movie, because that is like I'm thinking of like little kids who are watching this, and little kids like, you know, maybe they'd be scared about that, maybe they're too desensitized, but that's a very zombie-like moment.
Yeah, there was some very trippy moments. There was some very acid moments where some acid would be nice.
Which is what this movie needed. This movie needed to not play it safe.
This movie needed acid. No, it had a lot of kaleidoscopy, fractally crazy stuff going on, which I think was good, because if you look at the old 70s comics and stuff, Steve Ditko and Jim Starlin and those kind of people, the art is just amazingly mind-blowing, and you're like, what were these people on, or were they just that creative sober? It's amazing. So they did a good job of recreating that with a more real-world, modern sensibility.
Well, sure, this isn't reality anymore, what Doctor Strange is in, and that's what they needed to show us. They need to show us something that's beyond our comprehension.
Exactly.
And I think they hit that pretty well, which is great, because this is the movie that's introducing magic. And right now it's great that they're showing us the wild implications. Let's see how that sets into the reality of it. Like the one thing I'm nervous about is, are they gonna cheat too much? Are they gonna be like, oh, Deus Ex Machina time, it's time to save the day with magic, and then there won't be any reasoning to it. I think Marvel is smarter than that. They won't be lazy, but we'll find out.
They also introduced the concept of a multiverse to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so now you can say that the Cinematic Universe is part of the well, people have already been saying this, but the Cinematic Universe is part of the multiverse with the comic book universe and the Ultimate Universe and the...
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of them trying to drag in the bad comic book movies of the past and be like, well, now here's this character, we can fix it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of who would a bad character, because everyone's getting their own. I was gonna say Daredevil, but everyone's just getting their whoever had a bad comic book movie in the past is just getting their own Netflix series now. So that's their ways of fixing that.
And actors who played bad comic book characters are now new good. Ben Affleck
and the opposite company.
Yeah, Ben Affleck went from Daredevil to Batman. Chris Evans went from Human Torch to Captain America in the same company. And
oh yeah, that could be their means of bringing in the Fantastic Four.
Could be, or Spider-Man.
But no, Spider-Man's gonna be
I'm sorry.
You should be.
Yeah.
You should be. Maybe we'll see Tobey Maguire and be like, "Who's this Spider-Man?" I don't know. Then Garfield will jump in and we'll have 3 Spider-Mans from the multiverse.
And then they can do Spider-Verse as a movie and have what's his name?
I don't want it.
Kill everyone. One more thing before we move on. I think sling ring is the dumbest term I've ever heard. They had their means of opening dimensional doors was called sling ring, and I just was like, couldn't take it seriously because sounds like something a 3-year-old came like, it's the sling ring, zing bing ding.
Well, here's my angle on it.
Wingding.
As a big Green Lantern fan, Guy Gardner always refers them as the other lanterns as ring slingers.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept on pushing up my nerdy glasses and going, "Stop stealing from Green Lantern, you jerks!" Because I always, anything Green Lantern, I thought that was a dopey theme, but that's just their Green Lantern Corps inside thing. We're the ring slingers, yo, you know, and now they're saying it in Doctor Strange. I'm like, no, don't take our stupid theme we have. One of the biggest issues I had with this movie was the tone.
Oh yeah,
This movie could have been very serious, it could have hit that level of seriousness of like Inception almost.
It could have been very serious, and it even could have been a little dark. But instead, because it's a Marvel movie, it felt the need to quip and have one-liners.
Well, that's the biggest diss Marvel movies get. There's 2 things that people always complain about. Oh, great! Why are you Easter egg in this other movie? Worry about your own movie. Mm-hmm. And then the other one is that there's too many jokes, there's too many quips, it's too light. Mm-hmm. And at least in those other movies, there's a flow to it. Those jokes are part of the character, part of the whole movie. But in this movie, it's just kind of like, stop. Here's a joke. continue, stop,
Yeah.
here's a joke, continue, because
Yeah.
there's like the one scene where they're having this epic fight, and then all of a sudden you see Stan Lee in the bus doing something silly, and I love the Stan Lee cameos, but just like that totally took me out of the scene. I was like, oh, there's their Stan Lee cameo, okay.
Yeah.
I like back to the fight.
It's like we got that out of the way. Now let's get back to the fight.
Yeah, and that kind of just took me out of the movie. Like all these clips, it's just kind of like it stops me and goes, back in there. This movie had a big giant tonal issue, and it makes me nervous. We'll never hit the serious level of Winter Soldier again, because Winter Soldier they had a couple of jokes, but that movie was very very serious spy movie. Yeah. And when I get nervous where they want the kids addressed to it, but this movie could have hit. The magic is bright and colorful, so that's what our kids would have been fine with it. And then folks like us who like this reality twisting concepts, we would have been happy with it too. So I don't know why they had to throw in the quips and the kill the tone.
And not every character has to be Tony Stark and be a smart ass, quippy a-hole. With not that Doctor Strange totally was, but it seemed
he had I know exactly what you're talking about. He had very very many implications of being, I don't want to take these cases because that might ruin my record. And then something horrifying happens to him and he learns better.
Yeah.
Just like with Iron Man. Iron Man's like, I want just to sell these weapons. I don't care the implications. Oh no, something bad happened because of my weapons. I'm gonna do better now. So it's almost the same. I would think of this when I was reading World War Hulk. Half the time when I seen like Doctor Strange, I was like, is that Tony Stark? Oh no, it's Doctor Strange. The characters sometimes they're drawn very similar.
Yeah, they are.
White guys with goatees.
Yeah, I had the same problem reading, not to totally get off the rails, but I had the same problem reading Batman Court of Owls, where every character was a dark-haired white man with a Jay Leno face. When they were in costume, they looked amazing, but when they were out of costume, they all looked exactly the same. But anyways,
I want to speak to that, but a Court of Owls could be a whole other thing.
Right.
I feel, Matt, I feel like there's very strong reasoning to why the characters are drawn that way. But that's like I said, let's save that for our Court of Owls episode. So finishing up our Doctor Strange review, what would you give it for a rating?
As
a final summary. As Doctor Strange broke into reality, so you don't know how to.
There was the visuals, I would say, were A+. But the movie overall, I would have to give it a B-. I think it was above average. I enjoyed it, but it was definitely lacking in some areas.
Yeah, I almost feel exactly the way you do. I feel bad for giving it a lower rating since I fell asleep during the training montage, which was only 2 minutes in my brain, but really in the reality,
it was actually like 20 minutes.
Matt, quit twisting time up.
Yeah, but I used the time stone.
For me, I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10.
I think the fact that you fell asleep, you have to dock point. It's like, hey, this movie didn't keep me awake. I have to take points off. It's kind of your fault for not staying awake, but also kind of the movie's fault for not
keeping me invested,
and not intriguing you enough to stay awake.
Well, that's the thing about this movie is it was the Doctor Strange character hits a great note like a lot of the Marvel movies do. So you're gonna be excited when they toss Doctor Strange and Thor, and you're like, yes, Doctor Strange. But if they have a sequel, you're gonna be like, I don't know. The first movie they made was kind of like, I want to see more of these visuals, so that might be a reason to drag me back. But these characters are all flatlined besides Doctor Strange and possibly the Ancient One. I would recommend it, but I wouldn't recommend it for a primetime movie scene. I would recommend it for a $5 Tuesday or a $2 at the Plaza.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't. I feel bad if folks like seen it the Friday night. They wouldn't be disappointed, but they wouldn't be like, oh, that the hype is.
Some of those trippy time-bending sequences I think are worth seeing on the big screen,
yes,
but also don't pay a lot to see it.
Well, it's one of those things you can take that movie and put in a YouTube clip, you'd be happy with that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the problem. The good thing and the bad thing about this movie is like this movie doesn't stand alone. You need those aspects of here's a hook. The whole movie you can go give or take.
B- and 6.5 gives it an overall jam rating of orange marmalade.
That's it for the review.
Let's move on to Gotham.
Oh, okay. Very good tie-in. What is Gotham at?
Gotham is the best thing since sliced bread. No, Gotham is a show on Fox that's started off as sort of a prequel to Batman. Originally, it was going to be just a show about Jim Gordon. It was going to be a show about Jim Gordon.
Oh, was it?
Yep. And the Gotham PD, and then somewhere along the lines of development, they were like, hey, if you have Jim Gordon, you should maybe have some Batman villains. And then they were like, hey, you should probably have Bruce Wayne. Hey, and then it sort of...
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you can kind of tell, especially in the first season, how it was meant originally to be more just a Jim Gordon Gotham PD show. Mm-hmm. And they worked in the Batman stuff, but apparently people like that because now since then it's kind of gone completely haywire. I think we'll get into that a little bit.
I didn't know that. I got the Jim Gordon narrative that was supposed to be him and the cases he dealt with. And, you know, the kind of the build up to why Gotham needed Batman.
Right.
You know, just the precursors. Mm-hmm. The Bruce Wayne tie-in, I don't know. I don't know if it felt natural or not. You know, they hit the starting point of when his parents die.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a good starting point. But what comes in, I don't know. Now later on, you're like, was that worth being a starting point? But what else could have been a starting point with Jim Gordon? That's kind of the things you go back and forth with. The show kind of goes off the rails with the Batman tie-ins.
Yeah. And one thing I've talked to a few different people that are fans of the show that watch the show, and they say, I really like the show except for the Bruce Wayne parts. That's kind of sad to hear on a show about Batman, but is it a Batman show? Because there's no Batman, obviously. It's Bruce Wayne as a kid.
Well, I can understand from a marketing standpoint of why you would need to have Bruce Wayne. Because most folks know who Jim Gordon is due to the Nolan movies. And if they watch the animated show too. From a marketing standpoint, people like Batman. Yeah. And so they go, Bruce Wayne's in it. Okay, so we're going to see some Batman. So that's kind of one hook. Oh, Dr. Freeze is in it. Oh, I love Dr. Freeze. So that's another hook. You got to think of the hooks. If you go, oh, Jim Gordon's doing Law and Order episodes, then that's going to get some folks who are Jim Gordon fans, the nerdy criminal science folks, but it's not going to hit the folks who just like Batman, just like to see that crime fighting action, you know, schlock.
Yeah, and I think the young gentleman looks like David Mazouz. David Masseuse. I think he's an excellent actor, especially for his age.
I'm not going to take anything away from the acting.
I think his acting is wonderful, but the story...
the way his character's written.
The character development is a little... Nah.
I don't know, he just feels like he's a big crybaby, and then he should listen to everything Alfred says, because Alfred is amazing.
Right.
And then he doesn't listen to anything Alfred says, and he's just like, I'm going to do this on my own, because I have to learn. And it's like, no, you listen to Alfred, because Alfred's awesome. I get they want to show Batman as a loner, but... Batman, he doesn't know anything to be a loner, so I don't know. I think the lessons he learns in these episodes really aren't that great, and it's not really something leaning to, oh, this is what makes him Batman. And it just sounds like a little kid whining. And my big problem is, I don't know, this is just a physical ass point, but it's so skinny, and he's like, I'm gonna beat these guys up, and I was like, why don't you work out, and then you can have a better possibility. But he's like, nah, I'll just be skinny. I don't know.
Right. Fun trivia fact: Alfred is played by Sean Pertwee, who is the son of John Pertwee, who was the third incarnation of the Doctor from Doctor Who. And Jim doesn't like Doctor Who, so we won't get into that.
I don't dislike it. I just haven't.
He's not a Whovian, so he's.
Is that what you people call yourself?
Yes. You can be a fanable. I can be a Whovian.
Okay.
So, other fantastic actors. Robin Lord Taylor as Cobblepot Penguin, I think we both would agree is probably the best character on the entire show.
Oh, by far. He's what the show, like when you go into the show, we go, oh, it's a Jim Gordon show. Now you go, no. Yeah. It's a Penguin show. It's an Oswald Cobblepot show, because they kind of show a parallel between Cobblepot and Jim Gordon.
Yep.
And Oswald Cobblepot's narrative is way more interesting than Gordon's is.
Yeah, I love Cobblepot and Penguin. I think he's the best part of the whole show.
Oh, by far. The one issue I had, and they kind of stopped doing this because he's got a crew now, but the one issue I had the first season is how he could insta-kill people.
Right.
I get he was desperate, but he's a skinny little dweeb, and he's like instant-killing these people. And maybe one kill would be fine if it was like, oh, I'm so desperate, I gotta do this. But he's like... They show him as like a master murderer, like he knows exactly what he's doing, and it's like that's a little pushing it. But other than that, the actor does a great job of showing this little dweeb who somehow finds a way to get out of these horrible situations that he should be killed in several times, like the garbage compactor.
Oh yeah, that was
like you're
awesome.
Watching it and you're like, I know he should get out of this, but how the hell is he gonna get out of this?
He's effed now. You know he's gonna get out. You know he's not gonna get crushed in the garbage, but you're like, how on earth is he gonna do it?
And it's almost like an adventure with that, though. That's part of the adventure is find this person you should despise and hate, and it's like, this dude should finally get his, but you're like, oh, he becomes your underdog, sickeningly, you know.
And him and Gordon are tied very closely together because in the very first episode, Gordon was supposed to shoot Penguin on mob orders, and Gordon decided to spare him, and so you can make the case that indirectly from that point on, everything Penguin does is somewhat Gordon's responsibility.
Well, I love, like, those two have great chemistry, because anytime those two are on screen together, I have a blast, because some Cosmopolitan has a sick thing in his head where he thinks those two are the best friends.
Yeah.
And Gordon's like, get away from me, ew, get away from me. Yeah. And Cobblepot's like, I want to help you, but he's doing it through horrible ways. But
they've done a great job, and they've been especially touching on this more in recent episodes, but that Cobblepot is basically a lonely man that just desperately wants to be liked by other people.
That speaks to his love for another character in the show, Fish Mooney.
Yes.
Who I endure. Matt, what do you think about her?
Jim really likes Fish Mooney. I personally don't care for her.
For me, she's a badass bee.
Yeah.
She gets what she wants done, and she's like, I kind of get annoyed at how over her head she gets. But at the same time, that's Fish Mooney. Like, if she wasn't so over her head, she probably wouldn't have got to where she is.
Right.
And they kind of give her the feminine dynamic too. Like, she's a woman fighting in the man's world, especially in the gangster life.
Yeah.
All other crime bosses are men, and she's a woman. I think that's kind of a cool ideal. You kind of, when you look at politics, you go, right. Oh, this female is trying to break the glass ceiling. What about in the legal life too?
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's glass ceilings everywhere.
There's glass ceilings everywhere. But I think that's a neat tangent when it comes to Fish Mooney. Matt, what don't you like about her? Is it the character or is it the acting?
I think it's the acting more.
Oh, okay.
I think it's more, in particular, the way she delivers her lines. She seems to always have the same.
Is it like too corny, or?
She seems, and I can't mimic it, and I can't even describe it, but she seems to always have the same sort of, I don't know, not flat, but just sort of matter-of-fact, condescending tone, no matter whether she's happy, sad, mad. She always has, no matter what's going on around her, she always has the same sort of matter-of-fact, condescending delivery to her lines. That's probably what bothers me the most. Like, see, I'm Fish Mooney. I'm gonna talk like this. I just said I wasn't gonna mimic it, then I tried.
You did it.
I'm Fish Mooney. You do what I say, because I'm the fish. She doesn't say that, but
I'm the fish.
I'm the fish, and I'll slap you with my fin.
And she's what? You just sound like an Aquaman villain.
Yeah.
Oh, who are you? Fish Moon, I'm gonna slap you, Aquaman, with my fin. Oh, no!
My favorite part, the part when I was really starting to like Fish Mooney, was when she was being held captive in that, was it Dolmacher? Supposed to be the doll maker.
Yeah.
Kind of supposed to be the doll maker, but they called him Dolmacher.
My brain immediately goes, that's the doll maker, so I just started calling him the doll maker, even though that's not what the show is the show is obviously telling us.
Where she it showed that Fish Mooney is going to rise to the occasion and take control no matter where she is, whether if she's in a basement full of prisoners, or bar full of gangsters, or lab full of mutants. She is going to become the top of the heap no matter what.
It's the end of her, but at the same time, it's what gets her to the top. She took over that prison within days.
Yeah.
And other angles where she's trying to take over Falcone, it's like, lady, stop what you're doing. You're in a good place right now. But but she wouldn't have got as close as she wouldn't have had this messed up mindset.
Nigma, I really like Nigma. I like the progression his character's taken from being nerdy medical examiner, hi, I'm a big geek, to sort of getting this split personality to sort of just becoming all around straight up evil, or not evil, but criminal. I like that. I don't know if you like it as much.
I was kind of split on him having, because he does he have a split personality, or is it schizophrenia?
Well, it was like he, I think
it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to figure out, because the one moments they make it seem like it's schizophrenia because they're saying, do this person's guilty, do this, but in other moments he's like, I woke up and I murdered somebody, how did that happen?
And he had kind of a Tyler
So it's
Durden.
like they mix up schizophrenia and a split identity disorder.
He had his Tyler Durden thing going on where he was talking to himself and seeing the evil version of himself, and then now they've since merged, or he decided that he likes killing people or whatever. But I think the actor does a great job. I think
Oh yeah, he does a great job of playing a nerd, which we love.
Yup, exactly.
Well, here's another character. If you have a cynical mindset, which I always do, you could blame Jim Gordon on, because he always wants to be very helpful to Jim Gordon. He goes, Jim Gordon, I got this fax, and Jim Gordon's like, whatever, get away from me.
Yeah.
And he always wants to be Jim Gordon's friend, and Jim Gordon's just like, whatever, I don't even care about what you do here. It's like, he's your CSI guy. Help, let him help you out. And and Jim Gordon's just kind of a dick to everybody.
Yeah.
These people who want to be Jim Gordon's friends. Jim Gordon was a little bit nice to these folks.
Yeah.
And then maybe they want to become villains after all. Did you think of that, Jim Gordon?
Yeah, exactly. What a punk. And then we should talk about Hugo Strange.
Oh, I love Hugo Strange.
Yes.
They got B.D. Wong. I know that actor's name for sure.
Yep.
Because he was in Law and Order forever as the psychologist they always went to.
They should have got him to play Wong in Doctor Strange.
No.
Because his name's Wong.
Stop this.
Okay. And he's Wong, but he's strange. He's Doctor Strange, but he's Wong at this. Oh my gosh, my mind's blown. It's all tying together.
What? I don't even know what you're trying to say.
Because in the movie, the Marvel movie, there's Doctor Strange, right?
Okay, yes. Okay, I'm on that boat.
And then he has a sidekick named Wong.
Okay, still on the boat.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you have B.D. Wong.
Yes.
Whose name is Wong.
Yeah.
But he plays a character called Doctor Strange.
Oh,
Dr. Hugo Strange.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
It goes in one big circle.
It's the multiverse.
Oh god!
I'm being smothered by hands. Dormammu.
I'm gonna let him take you, Matt.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but B.D. Wong is great.
Mm-hmm.
And who's his little buddy? I love his buddy too, Mrs. Peabody.
Mrs. Peabody.
Oh, I just love how he always has to refer to her as Mrs. Peabody. What do you think of this? And they enjoy the evilness so much. You just can't help but be pleased by them too. Like, you know what they're doing is wrong, but I want to be happy that they're happy.
As we've said with other people, many of the actors in the show are amazing. He is awesome. His delivery and his presentation, and just an amazing character.
He always knows how to, like, because the famous angle is whenever you see Doctor Strange in the comics, or Hugo Strange in the comics, he always has his head tilted down and those glasses are reflecting, so you never see his eyes.
Yep.
And it's that condescending smile, like, I just learned how to F you up in that brain that you don't know. He has a great condescending smile. He always tilts his head down. Mm-hmm. And I'm just happy.
I love his voice.
Oh, yeah. He gets so serious, but he's so condescending. He's just showing off how smart he is.
Yep.
Just that snarkiness. And he does that so well. And seeing him on Law & Order, he's kind of, he's a good character on Law & Order. He always figures out the depths of the brains of the bad guys. And he's kind of doing this too, but he's such an over-the-top character that it makes it way more fun now.
My biggest gripe with Doctor Strange is that they made him responsible for the creation of like 90% of Batman's villains, which I thought was kind of stupid and rushed and heavy-handed. What are your thoughts, James?
Yeah, that's the end of season 3. They kind of give us a little teaser of all these villains to come, the monsters that are taking over Gotham. Teasing kind of becomes annoying because, and this is kind of one of the things that kind of ruin the show. At the end of them, they go, oh, here's Killer Croc, here's Mad Hatter,
Man-Bat,
here's Man-Bat, and you're like, you don't have to do this.
One thing is that they keep seeming to rush the progression of this, what kind of ties into what we were talking about Doctor Strange and Hugo Strange and the creation of all the villains, is that it's like, boom, you got Scarecrow, boom, you got Firefly, or a Firefly, boom, you got Mr. Freeze, boom, you got, now let's just make 20 villains at once.
Yeah, you're losing your origins in this, and that's part of the gift of a TV show, is you have time to draw these character definitions out. Mm-hmm. That's why I get annoyed anytime you like, let's compare Game of Thrones to the Star Wars movie, and it's like, you can't do that because you have 7 seasons to give development to these characters, and you only have like an hour and a half of this movie. Yeah. So it's very unfair, but Gotham is not taking advantage of that gift they have, and the characters they are defining aren't really, some of them are defined well, some of them are, what are you doing? Yeah. Freeze gets a total of 2 episodes why he's Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, and it was terrible.
And it was terrible. Firefly,
and then some they try to, speaking of Firefly, some they try to tie in, like we had Black Mask. What's Black Mask's name in the comic? Sionis, but instead of Victor Sionis, it was Joseph Sionis or something. It was
just, we keep on making a joke, is like, oh, is this Huntress, or is this Huntress's sister-in-law? Huntress is not in the show, but it's just an example.
And this is Scarecrow, but it's Scarecrow's father, but he creates Scarecrow, and this is this. And then Firefly, they're like, F it, we're not even gonna try and make a connection. It's just some chick. They didn't even like.
So it kind of takes away from their origin stories, because it was like their whole family is freaking villains, influenced from the family characters. Well, let's talk about the biggest FU that's not really them is Jeremy. Jeremy, I think
Jerome.
Jerome. Yeah. I'm smacking my head. I apologize. Jerome, I think, is brilliant. I think Jerome was actually a lot of fun.
Jerome was for those of you that don't know, Jerome was sort of a Joker tease. Is he the Joker? Is he not the Joker? And then right about the time he started to be convinced, for me anyway, right about the time I was convinced, oh yeah, this dude is totally the Joker. Blam, they kill him.
I knew it couldn't have been the Joker. I knew there's no way it could have been the Joker. But yeah, but I started enjoying.
But he was very Joker-esque.
Yeah, and I started enjoying that. You know, it was one of these things like you gotta give away the levity you might have with this show, where you're like, I want the prequel to Batman. You have to be willing to give that up to enjoy this show.
Yeah, this no longer to me is a Batman prequel. This is more like an Elseworlds alternate universe story, a different imagining.
And it kind of stinks too, because you want that pre-Gotham story. It's part of the marketing aspect.
Yeah.
It's got Joker now. I love a Joker. Oh, the Joker fanboys are gonna watch this show now. Oh, they got Poison Ivy. I love Poison Ivy. Oh, Poison Ivy fangirls, fanboys.
Poison Ivy, who they introduced as a young girl and then decided to artificially age because they needed to get Poison Ivy into the show.
They don't have any patience.
I know.
Like the Easter eggs are like, I think the first episode they Easter egged like 20 characters from the comics. You're like, why do you need to do this? Take your time. But they want to get the word spreading. They want to get Poison Ivy and Two-Face is in this. Oh, I think they're pretty cool. Like in Two-Face, he's kind of an a-hole, and it's like, why is he an a-hole yet? You know.
Yeah.
Some of them might be accurate to the comics, I don't know, but everyone feels rushed, and in the TV show environment, I just am bothered that they don't take advantage of that. You have that media to draw out these characters and give us a little bit more implications than we could get from either the comics or the movies.
And then, in contrast, you have something like Smallville, which was the Superman prequel, where they went really slow for a number of years, and then all of a sudden we're like, holy crap, and just completely jumped the shark, and then threw everything in. And after 10 seasons or whatever, it started to get wacky towards the end. But
it's why
you need a balance somehow.
And that's why superhero prequels don't really, I don't want to say don't work, because we're still watching this, obviously. But it's why superhero prequels kind of give you the hook, but the bait, but no meal. I don't know how to word it, but you're not gonna get your Batman out of this show. You're not gonna get your Superman out of Smallville. You're gonna get teases of it, and you're gonna be like, why isn't he just be Superman already? You're not gonna get that.
Yeah. Yep.
And you should, but I don't know. We wanted a Jim Gordon Law and Order show. We got that 10% of the time.
Yeah,
is a good way to put it.
But why do we keep coming back? What keeps bringing us back for more?
100% because it's schlock.
Yeah,
because it's schlock. Do you know what I mean by schlock, Matt?
Well, explain it for the listeners.
Just dumb act. The reason we're liking the show is like, Jerome, yes, I want that Joker-esque crap. It's not Joker, it's not building up on anything, but I don't care, it's Joker, yay. Mr. Freeze versus Firefly, they're finally facing out, yeah. Like that kind of action garbage is why we keep getting hooked in there.
There was a scene early on where not early on, about midway through it's season 2, I think, where they had sort of their weapons Walmart, where all the criminals go to buy their illegal weapons, and it's just like Gotham is so corrupt that it's just out in the open and no one cares. And someone tried to smuggle some explosives down the front of their pants, and Jim Gordon shot him and he blew up. And it was so over the top, and so schlock is exactly the word I would.
Well, I'm watching this show and I'm like, people make fun of Batman 66, but I was like, are you kidding me? This is like the modern version of Batman 66.
And that's funny because I've actually thought the same thing. Like, this is the flip side of the Batman 66 coin. Two-Face would be proud. No, but they're sort of like a weird twisted mirror reflection of each other. They're so campy and schlocky, but yet one is so goofy and bright and silly, and the other's so dark but still goofy and silly.
And this show is finally given us kind of what we want to. We go into this show going, okay, Mad Hatter's never going to be in a Batman movie. That would be like, he would be too low to be put in there. Firefly is never going to be in a Batman movie. Why would they? Batman, Ben Affleck, murder this arsonist. Oh, that's gonna be so hard. It's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. So it's kind of cool that Jim Gordon's gonna face off these kind of lesser powerful villains.
Yeah.
Like right now we're getting Mad Hatter. At first I was kind of annoyed. I was like, oh great, a Johnny Depp hipster ripoff. That's not my Mad Hatter. My Mad Hatter's a little man who's very sneaky and
has a big nose,
very despicable. Yeah, but this guy has won me over. Yeah, I'll confess.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the current Mad Hatter?
He's okay. I haven't been won over, but I don't hate him either.
Mm-hmm.
I'm intrigued.
Did you start off hating him, or did you start off like are you at the same point you are?
No, I'm at the exact same point where I was. I'm kind of like meh. I think he's a good for this universe, for this show. He fits the vibe and the style perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they did a great job of, hey, this is the Mad Hatter for the Gotham show. And so I like that, but overall, I like that there is a Mad Hatter and that they're using a character Mad Hatter.
Well, this is the show you put Mad Hatter on.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to have Batman Ben Affleck versus Mad Hatter.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be so, he'll blow him up with his Batmobile.
Right.
But with him against Jim Gordon, there's a little bit more gravitas to the fighting.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit better back and forth. Let's talk about the biggest controversial aspect, Jim Gordon.
Jim Gordon, who is in the comic supposed to be like, I uphold the law, upstanding Joe.
Well, Batman Begins hits it the best way possible. The GCPD is the most corrupt thing ever, and Jim Gordon's that only light in the whole GCPD. He's the only one that Batman can trust.
Yep.
And this show shows, no, you can't trust Jim Gordon at all.
And it's funny because it started off that way. It started off that the GCPD is horrible and corrupt, and Jim Gordon is coming to save the day and clean it up and be the shining star. And it started off down that road, and then somewhere along the way, the writers or whoever decided, no, Jim Gordon's gonna kill people and slide off the rails and eventually become a bounty hunter of all things, and just really not in the spirit of the character, I think.
I think the writers probably ran into a problem though. They had to give him a character development.
Yeah.
And part of that problem is you can't have him be a stagnant character in this show. You can't have him just go flat. I think they felt we had to give him a dip.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but that dip is what makes us not Gotham anymore, not part of the Batman universe anymore. Because Jim Gordon. There's one episode where they're trying to break this gal who's in danger with a Talon Claw. Mm-hmm. They break her away, and Jim Gordon gives the guards who are transporting the gal money, and he goes, just take the money. That scene hit me so hard. He does other things that are way worse, but that scene hit me so hard. It's like he's bribing cops, and he's telling them to just take the money. It's like, that's not the Jim Gordon I know. Yeah. That's Jim Gordon. He's encouraging cops to be corrupt. He's saying that's okay. For, what I'm doing is for the greater good. It's like, no, that's what Batman's there for. Batman's there to do illegal things for the greater good. You're Jim Gordon. If you have to arrest Batman, you arrest Batman, but you don't. Oh, it makes me so upset.
And the series started. The very first episode of the series was, hey Jim, you gotta go take Pink Cobblepot out and shoot him in the back of the head because the mob ordered you to do it, and all the cops do it, and it's just part of doing business in Gotham. It's the way life is. The sooner you realize it, the sooner you're gonna accept it. And he was like, no, I'm not killing this man. That's wrong. I'm gonna let him go free. I'm gonna pretend to kill him and get him out of here. And then
a whole season later, he would probably do it.
Yeah, exactly. Now he would be like, blam, what else do we do? Who's next?
Who's next? Yeah. Line him up. I'll clean it up right now.
Yeah.
Because he murders, in season 2, he murders Galavan.
Yep.
He murders him with, and that scene, that kind of, like, I guess they need something controversial, something for people to talk about, but that kills it for me. Yeah. Batman can't go to him anymore after this series is done, because he's like, oh, you murdered some people. I found out about that, Well, even he works with Bruce Wayne to do some crimes, doesn't he?
Yeah.
We're breaking out the Talon Gal. Yeah. I'm sure there's others, but he actually works with Bruce Wayne to break some laws. Mm-hmm. And it's like, so now Bruce Wayne knows for sure that he's a lawbreaker. You can't trust him.
Let's move on to great nerds in history.
Great nerds in history.
Great nerds in history. Anyway, today's great nerd.
You need to leave, Matt.
Today's great nerd in history is Vin Diesel. And no, it's not ancient history. We're not going that far back. Vin Diesel is still alive. When we saw that movie we just saw,
Doctor Strange,
there was a preview for Triple X, The Return of Xander Cage.
Triple X 3.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a big Vin Diesel fan. I like Vin Diesel. I'm a fan.
As long as they don't talk about the pacifier.
Yeah. Why did you do that?
Why'd you put that bad taste in my mouth?
Yeah.
I know that's bad, stupid comedy, but I don't. Hulk Hogan's nanny was much better. But let's not talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah, pacifier is horrible. But everything else Vin Diesel does is pretty cool. He's one of those simple one note actors. But you like that one note a lot.
Yes. He's just so charming.
He's so charming. But Matt, what makes Vin Diesel a nerd? We have some facts for folks.
We have 7 facts.
Back to our top 7 list again.
Top 7 Vin Diesel nerd facts of why he's a great nerd in history. One of the first things is that he used to call, apparently, his biceps kryptonics. And you know how you mentioned Hulk Hogan's nanny. Hulk Hogan had his pythons. Mm-hmm. Vin Diesel had his kryptonics. And kryptonics is a brand of skateboard wheel. And you might be saying, skateboarders aren't nerds, but calling your biceps kryptonics is pretty nerdy.
It's a Superman reference.
It is.
And that means his biceps are unstoppable like Superman.
His biceps are made of kryptonite and will destroy Superman if given the chance.
It's the implication.
He will say, "Why'd you say Martha?" and punch Superman in the face. No, I went too far.
Oh no, I'm sad for Martha.
Yeah. What's Vin Diesel nerd fact number 2?
Well, he wrote a foreword for a Dungeons and Dragons book called 30 Years of Venture. So when these folks are writing a Dungeons and Dragons book, and in the front of it, you're going to see a foreword from Vin Diesel. And that's not the first thing I would ever expect reading a Dungeons and Dragons book. I'd be like, it must be another person named Vin Diesel. How ironic! And it's like, no, it's Vin Diesel. Right.
And a lot of these are going to be Dungeons and Dragons related, but
that's very nerdy though.
There's nothing. One could arguably say there's nothing more nerdy than Dungeons and Dragons. And when you picture me personally, I love Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a Dungeons and Dragons fan myself, but when you picture Dungeons and Dragons, you picture the biggest group of losers sitting around a table.
Basement dwellers.
Yeah, body odor and out of shape and nerds, and you don't picture a big beefy man that I'm not crushing on him. It got weird there, but no.
You can have a mad crush on Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel is like in shape. He obviously works out. He's not 90-pound weakling or an obese acne, whatever you might think of stereotypical Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm a Dungeons and Dragons fan, so I'm not dissing on it. There's lots of awesome, cool, neat people playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Sounds like you're hating Matt.
But when the average Joe thinks of Dungeons and Dragons, that's what they picture in their head. And so,
I would love to join a session with Vin Diesel, just like in the basement with his fellow friends.
Don't you kind of picture him like doing cosplay too? Like he'll have like a helmet and a broadsword.
He'll probably like the movies he works on. He probably steals their attire to bring to his Dungeons and Dragons sessions. Mm-hmm. Like that'd be. What are you doing, Vin Diesel? Well, I got a Dungeons and Dragons session. Oh, okay. Well, we're not gonna argue with you. You're gonna punch us in the face.
I'll be back later with this broadsword and this helmet.
He should publish some of his characters.
He should. Speaking of his character, number 3. His character in XXX has a fake tattoo of his Dungeons and Dragons character printed or drawn on his stomach. How do you do a fake tattoo? You like draw it on with magic marker or something?
No.
You wash it off later?
They have makeup at it.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about fake tattoo technology. I've sometimes seen in TV shows that's like a prank, like I'm gonna give you a tattoo, and then afterwards I go, oh, LOL, it's a fake. But I was like, why would you need the needle then to do it? Like, I don't know how you. That'd be the worst, to get the pain of getting that tattoo and then not actually having a tattoo. I'd be kind of upset. Like, you should have just gave me the fake one. At least like that pain would have been worthwhile.
And this isn't like a temporary tattoo that you buy from like one of those quarter machines that you get wet and slap on your arm. This is like, there's a little more into it to that. I'm trying to.
Well, it had to stay on his body because obviously he's doing a lot of extreme skateboarding, extreme stuff in XXX.
Yeah, sports.
I love XXX. XXX is so like corny and stuff, like it's so 90s, 2000s-ish, but I enjoy the vibe of the skater extreme life. The dude who's like, I love doing the extreme and action at the same time.
The lifestyle,
yeah. It seems kind of a little bit forced. Like they open up I remember in one of the Power Rangers movies, they open up with them skydiving, and you're like, why are they doing that? Because it's extreme. That's what the Power Rangers do when they're doing free time. They do extreme things because they need adrenaline rush all the time. So it's kind of that fun vibe of he always needs that adrenaline rush.
Right.
And one thing I like about the Triple X movie too is Rammstein. They have some Rammstein songs, so
Right. For those of you that were curious, his character's name is Melkor Tar Morloth, which he drew from J.R.R. Tolkien's The Silmarillion. So it doesn't get much more nerdy than that. So anyways, what's number 4?
The last Witch Hunter movie, which everyone loved, was inspired by a conversation with screenwriter Corey Goodman, who was also a D&D fan. So this must be when these nerds got together for one of these nerd
it was like a nerd
Dungeons &
jam.
Dragons session.
Yeah, and they were nerding out. They were talking about Dungeons & Dragons and their characters, and they said, boy, wouldn't it be cool to have like this Dungeons & Dragons character, but in like a more modern setting with like more like James Bond style technology. And Corey Goodman went, that's a neat idea, and then wrote
It's like, I'm gonna write the Witch Hunter now.
The Last Witch Hunter.
Do you dumb question, because I've only played Dungeons and Dragons a few times, so I'm not as into the lifestyle as you are. But are there witches? Can there be witches? Okay, I would assume so, but I don't think I remember.
Hags and witches and various kinds of
That's
witches.
Offensive.
That's what they're
hags, Matt.
Hags. Yep, they're sea hags, like from Popeye and
what?
Popeye the sea hag.
I don't remember that. I just remember him fighting a giant octopus.
Yeah. Speaking of octopus, ocean related, in number 5 is that in 1994, Vin worked at a toy fair selling some Jossum toys. You want to tell us about those Jossum toys?
Yes, in the 90s, there was this amazing show, I should just keep on saying Jossum forever, called Street Sharks.
Yeah.
Apparently, Vin Diesel, before he made it big time, because when did Vin Diesel become big? Was it Triple X that made him big? Or no, Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Now it's 2000, right?
Or was it Pitch Black? Arguably.
Arguably, but it's like around that 2000 year-ish, right?
Yeah.
So and then I remember Saving Private Ryan was a few years before 2000, but he wasn't. He was just an extra in that movie, kind of. So this is before he was famous, which shows this isn't him just trying to hit that nerd demographic. He was selling Street Shark toys.
Yeah.
Which would be something I would love to sell anything like that, because then that just is an easy way to you talk about nerd things, and the reason you talk about nerd things is so you can sell your toys.
Yeah.
Being a salesman is the worst thing ever because you have to sell things you hate.
Like postage meters. Purely hypothetical example. I think that's like my dream job, working at a toy fair. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah, I'd be like, look at all these Green Lantern toys I have, and then you hook them in and tell them how great Green Lantern is. Well, I guess Sinestро's great. I'm going to buy a Sinestro toy now.
People always say, what's your dream job? Well, they don't always say it, but people ask, what's your dream job? And I always say, I want what Tom Hanks had in the movie Big, where he basically plays with toys all day and then makes his recommendations. And I think selling toys at a toy fair would be pretty close to that.
And I appreciate that too, because I'm a big shark fan. Yeah. So as a kid, that show was pretty sick awesome for me.
Well, what happened was you had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which came out of left field and took everyone by surprise and by storm. And then everyone
came out with a bunch of rip-offs.
Everyone decided they wanted to try and recapture that lightning in the bottle, so you had SWAT cats, and you had biker mice from Mars.
I remember biker mice from Mars.
And you had and eventually you had Street Sharks, which I think is one of the better ones.
I can't remember if the shows are good, but I remember watching them as a kid, and just the visuals are great. I can't remember the characters.
I remember the toys being pretty. I remember going to KB Toys and seeing the toys on the shelves and thinking these are pretty dang cool.
Well, that's why you like the toys overall, even if the show is good or not. You're like, oh, a hammerhead person, that's awesome. Oh, a great white person, that's awesome. So it doesn't even. I don't even think it matters sometimes if the toys are good or not. If you see that creative creation, you're just like, I want that just to show off how weird and cool it stands out-ish.
Right. So number 6.
He was a big fan of lore of Chronicles of Riddick. He wanted to build on it from Pitch Black. So he leveraged his house so Chronicles of Riddick could be made, because he was just that excited about his character.
And apparently he was quoted in interviews saying, like, if Chronicles of Riddick bombs, he's going to lose his house.
Then that's so ridiculous to hear a celebrity put his house on lines, because you think it would cost so much, but it's like, whatever, it's worth it so I can get my nerd movie out.
Right. James and I have a divided opinion of Chronicles of Riddick. I personally love it, but I can also objectively understand why people would not like it. I can watch it from from a objective view and go, yeah, I can see why people wouldn't be into this, but I personally love it.
Well, why do you love it though? There's not just the movie itself, but there's a certain aspect of what it's inspired by.
It's inspired by Dungeons and Dragons, but also to me more so Warhammer 40,000 or 40K as those hip to it like to call it. But it to me are very
so hip, so hip.
To me, Chronicles of Riddick is like the closest thing there is to a Warhammer 40K movie, other than there's been some lame Warhammer 40K animation movies. But this is like live action Warhammer 40K. So close.
Well, he must really love these board games because one of the rumors that came out is that this lady's confirmed it, is that Judi Dench, who was in the movie, everyone, if James Bond fans knows her as Q, or Q, correct? M. I'm getting my alphabet mixed up.
Vin Diesel, big Dame Judi Dench fan, was like, we have to get her to play my air elemental inspired character in Chronicles of Riddick. She's perfect for it. And they approached her and she was like, no thanks, I think I'll pass. And then Vin Diesel apparently sort of stalked her in a nice way to the point of filling her dressing room from like top to bottom.
I just imagine him grabbing Judi Dench by the ankles and going, "Be in my movie or give me your lunch money."
I just picture like a bush and then like a bush outside, and then Vin Diesel's head slowly comes out.
His bald head.
Yeah, just kind of slowly rises
like
up
a Diglett.
Yeah, and he's got like he's got sunglasses on. He's and it's dark.
A Diglett.
Yeah,
I'm done.
Just kind of.
Vin Diesel, I'm not doing your movie.
And so apparently she said, well, anyone that shows that much love and devotion, how can you say no to that? And decided to do the movie. And then even after the movie was made, she was like, I don't know what that movie's about.
You know what, Matt? People who watch the movie said the same damn thing.
Yeah.
Because that's my problem with Chronicles of Riddick, is like, I don't understand why is these things happening? Because you come from a movie called Pitch Black, which is a very isolated movie.
Yeah.
There's no government, there's no politics, there's no philosophy, maybe about prisoners or something like that if you want to go for that. But no, It's a simple, I'm stuck on a planet with a-hole aliens who come out at night.
Yeah.
And Diesel can see at night. But then they jump in this other movie which talks about like governments,
necromongers.
Not about only government philosophy, but also sci-fi nerdy things.
But you keep what you kill.
And it's just, well, that's the only thing I remember from that movie. You keep what you kill, and I'm like, okay, that's neat, I guess. And so it's just they're trying to make this movie that's about.
It's quite the leap from Pitch Black to Chronicles of Riddick. If you were watching Chronicles of Riddick, hoping to see another Pitch Black, it's not that. Mm-hmm. It's just the same character. But I think that's kind of cool because so often you see sequels and it's just basically a rehash of the original. You look at like The Hangover 2. It's the exact same movie except they're in Asia. I don't remember. China, Hong Kong, somewhere. And this is such a completely different. I actually like that aspect of it, but I can also see how people would be turned off by that.
You look at certain sequels like Alien versus Aliens.
Right.
They change up the genre, and Aliens, what you learn more about where the aliens come from. You learn different aspects. And what you learn about in Chronicles of Riddick is something that wasn't even mentioned.
That's true.
In Pitch Black, I guess they build Vin Diesel up as like the Jesus kind of the movie.
Right.
That wasn't even a thought going into Pitch Black though. So there wasn't anything they're taking from Pitch Black and building up from. They're like, here's this thing that was mentioned in a sentence, and we're gonna explode it.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but the movie was just like everything went over my head in that movie. But let's go into Nerd Fact. Let's stop fighting about Chronicles. Chronicles are ridiculous.
Chronicles of Riddick. AKA the best movie ever made.
And the last fact about why Vin Diesel is a nerd
is that he bonded with Steven Spielberg over video games. During the filming of Saving Private Ryan, Steven Spielberg was entering the video game arena. I know he produced a game called Boom Blocks, which is one of the only video games my wife plays, and it's on the Wii, and it's kind of like Jenga, but way better. So Steven Spielberg was like, yeah, blah, 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 video game company, blah, 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 and Vin Diesel was like, video games? And then took that as his in to, like, chat up Steven Spielberg and, like, hey, we're BFFs now because we both like video games.
Spielberg, he always finds a way to influence folks. I just want to see a screenshot or an extra photo of them both on a set. Mm-hmm. You got the World War II backdrop, and then having them both play it on a PSX or something like that. Mm-hmm. Play some Crash Bandicoot while we're filming Tom Hanks getting shot at. Well, that about wraps it up for Nerd Jam.
Yep, thank you for joining us.
And hopefully you learned some things about a great nerd in history.
Yep, and about Gotham, and about Doctor Strange, and about Hugo Strange, and about strange people.
And weird things.
Exactly.
We're so weird because we're nerds.
All right, thanks for joining us. Tune in next time.
Next time, Matt, what are some things we could talk about next time?
We might talk about Marvel Zombies.
We might even talk about wrestling.
We might talk about cuisine. Probably not, though.
Maybe
might.
maybe some cuisine you use with jam, right?
Right, yeah.
Right, well, maybe a jam recipe or two.
Or maybe like gamer food, like Doritos and Mountain Dew.
Gamer food is like the food that you don't even have to make.
Yeah.
That's why it's gamer food, is because gamers are too lazy to get up and make a nice meal.
Yep. And we'll feature another great nerd in history. And this time, nerds
in history.
And this time we might go back further than 2 years for our history lesson.
2 years? We went back all the way to the 90s, Matt.
Okay, that's true.
Good. The 90s, that's like,
2 decades.
Almost older than me.
Yep.
No.
All right. Thank you.